Hello, everyone. Marcel from Career Valet. We are at 12 o'clock Eastern Time, and it is Friday, so it's time for our Career Q&A, Take 15. Thanks so much for joining. Drop into the comments where you're watching from. I am currently outside of Washington, D.C. in the U.S., and I can't wait to see where you're at as well. So first, to tell you, I am going to share a link to of parts of your job search strategy that you should focus on. There are sometimes we only think of a few, and there's actually many that can increase your chances of getting a job faster. So I'll drop that in the comments afterward. But please do write in your questions as I start now to talk about one frequently asked question or thing I hear from clients, I should say, this time. But meanwhile, as you think of any questions, drop them into the comments because I will answer them at the end. And as always, they can be on any topic. Doesn't have to be related to the discussion today. So it could be anything from, you know, um, job search to salary negotiations to how to get a promotion at my job, resume writing, anything you want. It's fair game. So we'll get started. So today it's not as much of a question, but a problem that a lot of our clients encounter. And it's not just our clients, it's everybody. Let's be real. So what it is frustration at not getting responses to your job applications. This could be happening for a number of reasons. There's all kinds of variables involved, of course, and a lot on the employer end that you can't even see. But when you're looking at it from your perspective, why is that? So, the first thing I want you to do is think about, are you applying to the right types of jobs? And what I mean is not just the right type, but when you look at the job description and you look at the requirements, what do they say? Are you meeting the majority of those qualifications? If you don't, I would say you might be wasting your time and looking at the right things. However, there could be other things at play here. Like if you, for example, think about if you're maybe overqualified for something, right? So if you're applying to things that say require 3 to 5 years of experience, but you have 10 plus or 5 to 10 years, they might overlook you for that reason because they'll think, oh, this person is never going to want to accept the salary that I'm asking. So do think about that. And it's not something you can't overcome, but it's something you really need to address up front in a cover letter and or in the top of your resume as to why you're making a shift if you are in that overqualified position. The second thing you really want to think about is, are you talking to people? And so what I mean is, are you just sitting behind your desk and applying and shooting off applications? Um, or are you actively engaging with others and talking to them about what you're looking for, their organizations, their companies, their field, and what you want to do? So it's really going to be a disservice if you're just sitting there and applying blindly because, again, back to those variables, there are so many things happening at the employer that you don't know about, and you don't know who the other candidates are, and you can't expect to get as many responses from just doing that as you will if you cast that net broader. So really think about, what are the organizations or companies of interest, and what are jobs that you're looking for, interested in, and who can I talk to? And then think about your network and who you might be able to talk to about those things and learn about the culture or the job function or what else you need to do to get there. So let's go to some questions. I know there's a lot more I could say on that topic, but I want to answer your questions. So what do I think of future jobs after COVID-19? I assume, if I'm correct, that means what job prospects will look like or what types of jobs will be available. If you want to clarify further, I can speak to that more. But the industries that are important, that's a good question. So it's going to, I think a lot of it will surprise us. I don't think anyone can predict with any certainty, of course, but I will say um, a couple of things that I've noticed have been, there's a lot of companies who've handled the whole period any way you can show and your communications and relationship building, interpersonal skills, or how you've engaged with external and internal teams and staff in your organization, or vendors and suppliers, is going to be important anywhere you go. In terms of industry, I'm seeing a lot of more, and this is of course always the case, but technology is doing very well. A lot of companies are, in fact, trying to poach and take people from other companies that they find. So, and they're offering, good salaries as well. So technology is not going to change. Now, at the same time, however, there's other companies that are pivoting to more of a technology bend, like um, the retail businesses, right, that were suffering, or even food and beverage and hospitality and the restaurant industry are trying to figure out ways to not necessarily totally reinvent themselves, but really pivot and figure out how technology can benefit them. So if you have skills on the technology side, you could really apply that to industries like that, or any industry, because I think companies have realized they have to be more flexible. And then there's others that have just completely relied on the in-person experience, like event management companies and event planners, anything to do with networking. There's a lot of movement there. But I think we're going to see a lot of innovation um, after the pandemic subsides even more in other ways, because it's taught us that, again, you can't be certain that any one model is going to work. Um, so I think, the travel industry obviously is hurting a lot, but there's going to be instances there where there's reinventioning, reimagining operations is happening. So I think that'll be an exciting space to get into, in addition to all the technology areas I was speaking about. Um, I think it depends. I think there's going to be a lot going on, and to watch out for a lot of new things and startups coming out that are going to have completely new ideas that nobody ever would have expected before, which is kind of exciting. Clearly, in the healthcare space, that's a big deal as well. I mean, applying technology to that, but also just in general. I mean, there are some things you can't replace. What we've seen now, of course, is how important elder care and hospice and these sorts of things are, and that can't be replaced by only technology. So there's going to be innovations there as well, I think, and improvements in different types of care offered. And even another big function, I wouldn't say industry, but we've seen, of course, that supply chain and logistics has been a huge issue, both within the healthcare industry as well as technology and other in other areas of the economy, and that's worldwide. So I think that that's something too to really think about. If you have that logistics supply chain experience or want to get into something like that, I think companies are going to be seriously looking to improve those areas as well. Do we have any more questions or related follow up to that? Happy to answer them. And one comment that flows on from what we're just talking about regarding future prospects, as well as my previous comment about applying for jobs and talking to people, um, and as I talk, please ask more questions in the comments. I would say that it's important to talk to people. So if you're listening to me saying, gosh, well, I don't know anybody in the hospitality industry, but I've always been interested in that, or technology, right? I'm really interested in sort of the new areas within machine learning or whatever it is, and I just don't know anything about it. Talk to people and don't think of it so much as a doesn't have to be like a professional networking. Everyone hates the word networking. It's more about building relationships and learning. So think about, it's kind of a learning experience. I actually said this recently to a client. Don't think about it as I'm going out, just this is going to find me a job, end goal, stop. Think about it as something where you're going on like a fact finding mission and a learning mission, and you want to learn about someone's industry or job function or other companies or opportunities, within that space. Maybe they know stuff about the competitors that you don't know, or what other companies are doing or how they're innovating. So it's important to look at your networks, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, in another session, another week, but really think about who's in your network and who you can talk to, or even who can introduce you to others who might be able to teach you some things that might be helpful. So are there any other questions? I'm going to grab this link now to drop here. All right, I do see some more. So yes, technology could really be anywhere. That's correct. It does not necessarily coding. Coding is always in demand, hugely in demand, but I see Salesforce developers. There's a huge need for that always, really across, especially in the United States, across the technology spectrum. There's needs for everything. Um, that's a great question on remote work. I do think that the trend will stay that way. I don't think every company is going to be as progressive as they say they are. I think we've seen a lot of positives going in that direction, but I would say that um, that's going to be a trend, and something that, just like we were seeing before the pandemic, a lot of students coming out of schools were demanding, or basically demanding that companies were involved in some kind of philanthropic work and corporate social responsibility. And it's kind of the similar now. It's like not just students coming out, but the whole workforce now expects there to be some type of flexibility built in. So I don't think that will change, but I think it will still be harder to change some in more conservative or traditional industries like law, like the federal government or state government. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but hopefully it will continue. So I'm going to drop in here the roadmap to job search success. If you want to grab that, please go ahead. It will sign you up for our newsletter, which will come once a week, but you can always unsubscribe to that. Thank you so much for watching, and I won't see you next week as we're going to take the week off, but I will see you in 2 weeks and hope you'll join us then. Thank you.